Hello, everyone, and welcome to Drawing Star Wars Ships and Vehicles. This is a more advanced class than what I've taught in the past. My first class being Elements of Art, Star Wars Edition, going through basic ways that we can learn to draw basic shapes and forms. The second class, Star Wars Yourself, creating yourself as a Star Wars character, which really talked about drawing the human form specifically and how to develop the ins and outs of the character's personality and physical traits. This class is going to build more on our lines and circles. So how we use certain measurements to make something look very proportionate and set. So it is very different from drawing people, what we've been doing before, which is a very what we call organic shape. These are quite obviously very man-made shapes that are very symmetrical. Symmetrical means the same on one side as it is on the other side. It's another way to say a very mechanical looking objects. So we're going to start with that today. I wanted to give a brief introduction to our materials that we'll be using. They're the same exact materials that we've used in the past classes. So first, I just have my regular computer copy paper. I believe this one is from Walmart, but it's just printer paper. The reason I use printer paper is because sometimes you don't have a lot of money for sketchbook after sketchbook. And even if you have money, you may not have room for sketchbook after sketchbook. So being that I draw a lot, especially for these classes, I like to just use computer paper. And if it turns out really well, I can put it in a plastic sheet in a notebook later. If not, I just put it in a folder with the rest of the duds or just the extras. And then I can pick my favorite in the end. So those who may be running short on money for supplies, it's always nice to have some computer paper or loose leaf paper handy. The second thing I have is a pencil sharpener. This pencil sharpener came with my special pencils. It's called Black Wing. I got this for Christmas one year. My husband researched some nice pencils and what would be best for sketching, since I do that a lot. And he found that these Blackwing pencils were actually some of the best that you could get. So I believe the graphite is from Japan. And the Blackwing pearls, these white ones, are the ones that are nice and soft, but not too soft. So they're great for sketching. So this is what I use. There's nothing inherently magical about these pencils. Before these, I used the Ticonderoga pencils, the yellow ones with the green letters, for the longest time, just because I thought they were smooth. The main difference that I can tell between these pencils and pencils that you would just buy from the store are that they write smoother, it's easier to write lighter, it's easier to erase. So that's one thing that I really like about them. Listen. So I think that's very important to have for me. But they did have a little bit of magic in the sense that when I used them, it's like I almost automatically felt like a professional because I had professional pencils. So if anything, if you've hit a wall and you're struggling to get where you need to be, maybe just buy yourself some fancy supplies. I think this box was around $20 off Amazon. You may be able to find it cheaper. But again, I got it for Christmas 2 years ago, and they've lasted me a long time. And I draw a lot. I illustrate books and things like that. So try it. See if it works for you. Maybe it'll help you get over something. Oh, lastly, I wanted to tell about the eraser. It's actually a long, thin eraser, and it can actually come out and lengthen if you need to. So you're never going to be scraping on the metal part here. So anyway, I really enjoy my black lines. And for this class, I am going to be using a ruler. So just any foot ruler. Yardstick might be tough. If you have a smaller space, such as any ruler would be fine. And then I have an extra eraser in case I need to erase a lot of space. But that's it. So extra eraser if you want that, sharpener, pencils, ruler, and then copy paper. I've had some people ask if we can use mechanical pencils in this class. I don't forbid using mechanical pencils, but what I can say is that they're extremely, they have an extremely sharp edge. They're a different shape than a wooden pencil in that they're a circle. So when you draw, it almost slices through the paper if you're not careful. And that slice can be very, very difficult to erase. So you might find it frustrating if you cannot erase with a mechanical pencil. They're also very light. And while some people might like that, the balance in your hand might throw you off too. So it's just something you have to get used to. Drawing with a mechanical pencil is fine, but you have to practice doing so very, very lightly so you can erase later. And some people have difficulty drawing lightly because they can't see. Just try it. Just experiment with different things. So, I mean, some people just draw with a pen, and kudos to you. I usually don't because I'm a little bit too much of a perfectionist. Maybe one of these days. All right, so let's get into what we're drawing today. Today is going to be Luke's X-Wing. So we're in the week of the Death Star battle. Luke is one of the fighter pilots who is going to be trying to infiltrate the Death Star's weakness by shooting bullets into it to explode the core. So let me pull up the reference photo that we're going to be using today. Okay, sharing my screen. Okay, so here is our reference photo today. It's a little pixelated. But what we're going to do first is I'm going to draw some rulers. So again, those of you who've had my previous classes, I like to use my own rulers to define the proportions of things. It makes it easier for me. This is not an X-wing that is straight on. It's actually turned to the side and at an angle. So this one is definitely a bit difficult than what we are used to. So the first thing I want to show you that we're going to do is I'm going to define where the points are. So I have a point here and a point here. Okay. Then I've got the back of the gun here and the tip of the gun here, here, and back here, here, and right here. So these are our outermost pieces. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw those lines. Okay. And I want you to look at the lines. We know in our minds that these guns, being that this is a symmetrical vehicle, the guns are all the same length and the same size. But are the guns in this picture the same length and the same size? Look at this. No, look at this one over here. It looks like this one is like been chopped off. Why is that? Because when something is closer to you, it's called foreshortening. So this one is coming towards us, and therefore it looks shorter. Okay. These ones are pointing away from us and can look longer. It just depends on the angle. So I'm going to take my ruler and just look at this here for just a minute because I want to get to know it. And I'm going to create the outer box here because I want to create a perimeter. I don't want my wings to be too far apart. By all means, freehand this if you feel like you can do it, but let me tell you a story about freehanding. There's nothing wrong with freehanding. However, freehanding accurately comes from practice, okay? It comes from looking at something over and over and over again and knowing how that something works. So, you may have watched Star Wars your entire life. You may know just the perfect ins and outs of how this thing works, okay? I had a friend, my best friend in high school actually. She had a little sister. I went to their house once. And they lived on a horse farm, and her little sister had pictures of horses all over her room that she had drawn, and they were phenomenal. She couldn't draw anything else to save her life, but she drew horses like perfectly, like realistically. But it's because she grew up around horses and knew exactly what they looked like. She knew where their muscles were. She knew the curves of their necks. She knew just different positions of horses, what their hair looked like blowing in the wind, simply from just growing up around horses. I can guarantee most of you didn't grow up around your father owning an X-Wing. Therefore, this is going to take practice, and your first one may look terrible. I'm expecting that, you know. Um, I'm going to be quite honest with you and say this is the second time I've ever drawn an X-Wing. Being a huge Star Wars fan, I usually didn't gravitate to drawing vehicles. Why? I don't know. I don't think I really had access. I didn't really have internet growing up. So I didn't really have access to just looking at them all the time. But so we're doing this together. This is the second time I've drawn one, and this is not the picture I drew. So I want you to see my process of what I go through and then go from there. So here's our picture. I have my rectangle. I'm just going to measure. I'm trying to make this a symmetrical rectangle so I can make sure I get it right. I've got about 7.5 by 7.5 rectangle on the long ends and 3.5 by 3.5. Okay, I think I'm going to do those same proportions. So let's skip over to the paper here. Okay. I'm going to move over to my desk as well. That way I can see what I'm doing and make sure that you guys also see what I'm doing. Okay, so 7.5 by 7.5. That's too big. I'll cut 7 to 3, but I'm going to try to get that angle that it was at. I know it was, I think the angle was about like this. I don't think it was exactly like this, obviously, but maybe I'll do it like this. This doesn't have to be an exact science as well, guys. Just, again, do the best you can. I'm showing you my process. A lot of this might be rambling, but I want you to see I am not a professional X-Wing drawer, okay? I'm coming at this same way you are. And this is how I start very precise drawings of this. So first, I'm going to draw the center line. So this is what I'm drawing right now. So I've got, oops, my square here. Draw a really funky rectangle because I'm really bad at using the trackpad, so my rectangle is not going to be great. Okay, ignore that. So what I'm going to do now is if I cross through the middle here, finding the middle is going to be the focal point, which is Luke Skywalker. Okay, that's one of the main things about this ship is Luke is in the middle. And we'll find similar things when we go to Darth Vader's ship later. But it's also all about the balance, and the cockpit is right in the middle of this specific ship. Okay, so first, let's draw my angle, say 7.5. So I'll come down here. About 7.5. This is very light, okay? Come down here again and do a 3.5. Doesn't seem very big, but that is okay. I don't have one of those angle rulers, so my angles are not going to be perfect. That's the free-handing part of this. Angles are not going to be perfect. But once I hook onto this one right here and go 7.5, then I'll be able to see if it can connect up. Since it does not, I'm going to fix that line. Okay. So this is a very small box. Okay. So let me go back to the screen one more time and look. So this X-wing looks a lot bigger than it actually is. And that's what I'm learning from my eye, because it is legitimately 3.5, which is so interesting. So it looks so much bigger than that. But if you think about the cross section is 7.5, right? So, and then see this whole cross section here? That's going to be 8. So you've got the cross section there, and I'm going to cross it down to the other corner. Now what this does, even if I don't get the picture exactly like what it is on the computer, what this does for me is it allows me to draw it proportionate for what I have here. Actually, you know what? I just made that 3. Look at that. First mistake. Measure twice, cut once. That's why it looks so thin. Coming back down. So this is actually 3.5. Okay. And this is 3.5. Guys, this is a lot of prep work. But let me tell you something. I am not a natural born artist. Surprise, surprise. I used to think I didn't like math very much. And then I realized that math was how I did things. Once I embraced that math, I got my ruler out. And then once I learned how to do math, I was able to be more precise. This picture is not going to call for so much math. So far, the only math that we've done is measuring. But you know what? That is part of math. So when I say math, I'm not talking algebra. I'm talking using the elements of basic math to create these things. And proportions are all about math and shapes and sizes. And that comforts me. There we go. It's a little bit better. Okay. Pitiful. I'm a pitiful creature. Okay. So now that I have that together, I'm going to start on the guns like I had measured before. So my lines are a little darker because I want you guys to be able to see it. Okay. First gun is up here. And it's actually coming straight down at me. So I want this to stay as much in the box as I can. I'm going to draw it up like this. Again, it's okay to go out of the box. It doesn't seem to fit. I have a circle here. Coming at me. So here we have a cylinder. A cylinder being a can. Okay? We have a can. And the can, we're going to face the can towards us. So if you were to lay a can on a table and look at it from the end, it would look like this. Little curve at the top. Okay. And you've got a stick coming out of the can here. Out of the center of the can. And don't worry about being scratchy. This is a very short stick. You don't want to make it too long. And this is kind of shadowy, so I'm just going to draw like 3 types of prongs here. Most of that's going to be shaded, which is in part 2. So there's our first gun. String's looking hot, but that's what it is. Our second gun is going to come out the bottom here. So this gun is coming slightly at a different angle. So this one is facing us. And this one is going to be going more along the curve of our square. Okay? So, starting at the very bottom here. Some space. I'm actually going to mark where the wing is. I'm going to mark the wing here. Everything's going towards the center. Remember, we're going to work on going towards the center. Okay. And this gun is peeking out from underneath this wing. Same circle. This gun is a little longer. Yes, I'm going outside my square. You can always fix that later. So this is a little scruffy. But you see how I'm going along the square? That's just my ruler to try to keep it all together. Okay. Now, what I want to do next is pop up here to the top and get in number 3. So this gun is going to be more facing out. So we've got it. Got our X wing coming in. Chop in that corner a little bit. We've got our, and the X wing, we're going to fix that in a second. I'm just trying to get my gun here. Probably need to put it on the inside, shouldn't I? It's the other one's on the inside. This can is laying to the side. This can is to the side. So the circle is more of an oval. And you guys can be looking at the reference photo as well. I did upload that. This gun is actually one of the longest guns because it's to the side. It's not foreshortened. So we can shorten these later. Again, we're just sketching. We will make it look pretty here in just a minute. A few minutes. Next gun we've got coming out of the center line here. Coming straight down. This one is creeping up underneath the other one as well. So I want to draw here. Let me see how straight across this is from the other. Okay. So this one is actually right along. So bottom of our ship is about there. So this next one, the wing is going to be out to right here, coming towards the middle there, which means this guy still on the side, but peeking out. It's not perfectly to the side. Peeking out underneath the wing. Okay. And that is only slightly different than this one. So this one is pointing this way. This one, if I go straight down like that, and then down just a tad, it's going to be pointing this way. So out comes the sphere. Okay. All right, so we have guns. Yippee. I know this looks like a mess. Most of my drawings look like a mess before they start looking good. So far we have our 4 guns. So now what I want to do is get those wings in together. So the wings are coming in to the center line. So my ship is angled in the direction of this box. Okay, so whether I've made this correctly the same as the picture or not is irrelevant. However I drew this box is the angle that my ship is going to. So if my box is this angle, look at the picture. So right in the middle, you see this right here about the halfway point there? There's this triangle. Do you see the triangle? Have you ever heard of people drawing a graph? Or have you ever done one of those graphs in books where you have like one side and you have to draw it the same as the other side? We're almost doing that on here, except this is triangles, okay? So our triangles are our graph. Get a little bit more over here. Okay, so my fighter is going to be coming down through the center here of this half. So look at the picture for just a moment. So another important tip, always look at your picture more than you look at your paper. So the tip of the nose of my ship is going to be right here. It shouldn't be that much further from our guns here, but I know that if I drew a line from my guns, it's right inside of that. So if you draw a square around your reference photo like I did earlier, you'll see that it's sticking about right there. Okay. From that, I'm going to draw a body going back. For my body rulers. There are a lot of lines here, guys. I'm about to erase some because there's just a lot. Okay. So the first line I'm going to erase are these bottom lines that we used to measure the guns. A lot of lines can be distracting, but choosing which lines to erase is important. So the first ones are down here at the bottom because there's nothing else down here at the bottom that I'm going to need to draw. Okay, so now that I have those erased, and I have my body in here, let's draw a wing. So we've already got this one started here almost, but I'm actually going to come down. I've got my center line here. So I'm going to come down. You can use a ruler if you want to. In the back of the gun. Towards the tail of the ship. So the center isn't just, this is just the cockpit here, okay? Not everything is perfectly coming towards the cockpit. What is coming towards the cockpit is the tip of the gun holders, okay? So the front part of our wing is coming towards the middle. See that? The front part of our wings. So all of those front parts are coming towards the middle. Back parts are going to come towards the butt of the plane. So the butt, I draw actually a curved line. It's not right there, it's saying. Okay. I ramble a lot, guys, so if you guys have had my class before, I'm sure you're used to it. Okay. So here it is, right here. My dark line for the butt. I'll draw a little line like this. So I've almost got like a let's come in towards that. So my back line here. So back of my gun, coming right to that gun. Started this class with a doozy. This one's a little bit tough. I think you guys can handle it though. All right, so this wing, again, coming in towards that back piece there. This wing is overlapping. We'll erase that in just a moment. Okay. Next backing. That is not right. See, that's why you have a ruler. So if you try to tend to draw something out of one, you can put it back. Okay. There's that one coming up. Remember, we're coming up towards our back there. And the next one, and the last one. So I'm actually going to make this one just a tad straighter. This one's actually pretty straight. If you look at the picture. So we have some wings, okay? Up, 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 up. All right. We're almost done with this, believe it or not. So let's look at it for just a minute. Okay, we've got guns. We've got wings going in their right directions. We've got a nose pointed in its right direction. Okay, so now what we want to do is let's focus on that body, the body of the nose. Okay, so we've got it going in the direction we want to. So I want to start with the nose part. So again, looking at your reference drawing, it has this this is too dark. This outer casing coming down to a point. And I'm going to go back along the body that I've already drawn. And we have this in a geometric shape here. You see that? This body is not round. This body is not flat. It is a specific geometric shape, which means it has 4 sides, or it doesn't have to have 4 sides, but this one might actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one possibly is going to be a hexagonal shape. Math. Can't get away from it, no matter what you do. Now this I'm trying to stay within the limits of that shape. You can tweak it as you go. That's why we draw lightly so we can erase. Okay. I've got my nose here. I think just to make it look a little bit better, I'm going to lengthen it a tad. Another thing you know about me is I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So sometimes I will work something to death until it looks the way I want it to look. It is not always a good thing for me, but it sometimes makes my videos a lot longer, so I apologize. My friend says, sorry, not sorry. I don't like to say that because I am really sorry. Draw. Okay, I have a nose. All right, coming up to the cockpit, we've got our 2 main lines here coming up. And our cockpit is going to be starting right here. So I'm going to erase some of the lines in here because really all I need is the point at this part. So not all of them because I don't want to erase that. But I know these wings are not encroaching upon this cockpit. So I'm actually realizing that this wing is going to the top of the cockpit. So bring that in a tad. So as you see that things aren't consistent, there's nothing wrong with changing them to be consistent. Okay, so into cockpit. Drawing lightly, and sketching. Get that in there. And there's a window on the side. It comes back. There's a lot of triangles in this piece. Lots of triangles. I'm not against triangles. We're a very interesting set piece. All right. Now, right off the bat, I'm noticing an error. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but this line from this to this is going here, and this line is going here, and eventually they're going to intersect. That can't happen. These have to be parallel, because what's happening is it's making it look crooked. So because my nose looks so great, I'm going to change this angle. See, just changing the angle and keeping these two the same is going to make it look straight. about angles, guys. That's what makes robots, that's what makes machines look so precise. Angles. For those of you who have yet to experience the joys of geometry, when you get there, embrace it. It's a lovely class. And if you begin to understand geometry, you will understand how to make things like this 10 times better. Yes, I'm going over this and over this until I get it right. Okay, here we go. This is coming back. We've already drawn the back part here, but I'm going to add some details. Some curves here. Just going to squiggle in some curly marks right here because that's honestly what it looks like. And I believe this is where our 2 sits. So I'm actually going to draw him here. With the squigglies around him. No, you can barely see him, but on this picture, he's quite small. All right, so we have our body. We're going to spend a few more minutes on part 1 here, and then we're going to take a break. So there's a line coming out of the top of our cockpit here, okay? And this line is going to be our engine line. So coming to the middle here, okay, there it is. Our engine line. No, it goes to the middle. Okay. So this engine line goes to about middle end there. And you guys know how to draw a circle. So draw very lightly a circle here. Okay. Another circle. And we're not shading in this one, so you don't have to worry about shading yet. But this engine is going back the same line as that. This is going to look a tad bit wonky because we haven't shaded yet. Once we begin shading, things are going to start coming together in a little bit more better fashion. Right, so let me erase my wing part since it doesn't come into the engine here. And a lot of these wonky lines that seem like they don't fit, again, will be covered up by shading. Don't worry about those. All right, so there's one engine. The next engine is going to come straight out. top of this wing here. And both of these engines are front-facing circle. Because I got my circles to that to make sure I get them right. So okay. There's another engine. This one's going up towards the middle of this wing, the angle of the flag in the middle there. And then we're going to have some foreshortening, which means this engine is going to look a tad bit shorter than the other one. It's closer to me. Cylinder on this one is not quite right. It's back a little bit further. That's what it is. There we go. Okay. Again, a lot of that will be worked out in the shading. I know we've spent a lot of time on this guy. We're doing great. We are almost there. All right. So at this point, I'm going to erase the wing marks on the body. And erase these other ruler lines that are just rogue all over the place because they no longer are needed. So what's left is the outline of our extreme pilot. So when you're erasing, be very careful not to erase your wing or your guns so that you don't have to try to figure out where they are again. You should be left with just the skeleton of a ship. So the hardest part about drawing these, the hardest part is the placement and getting it right. Really. The shapes aren't so bad, right? It's just the angles, making sure we get it in the right place. And once you learn the mechanics of an X-wing and what they look like and things like that, it's easier to draw them at angles. Well, maybe. Well, you wouldn't have to look so much, at least. You would know the makings of the wings and such. So I'm going to go back over this. Draw my lines here. Wings coming in. They have some depth to them. I sharpen my pencil. They have some depth to them. They look pretty good. Like I said, this is an advanced class. But sometimes you don't grow if you don't do hard things. Some kind of thing going on down here. I'm sure it's some kind of support for the wings. Already done up here. Curve around the cockpit here. That looks nice. Darken up this gun over here. Very fuzzy lines. I'm just going to It's amazing how things look when you clean up a little bit. This one kind of fades into the background, but I'm still going to draw it. Once we shade it, it will make more sense. And that was a terrible line. Let's try that again. Maybe I should get my ruler out. Apparently I'm not doing a great job of drawing straight lines. Okay, that one's coming in towards the back. All right, well, here we go. Kind of thing sticking out right there. Connecting that one. Okay, I believe we've got it, guys. Whew, demo one done. This might take you more than one sitting, okay? I'm offering you guys lots of demos in this class. So don't feel like you have to do everything, okay? This class is not a graded class. This class is for you. So if this week you only end up doing Luke's X-Wing or Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, that's totally okay. I would love for you to upload what you have though, because I always would love to see them. Even if you feel like it looks absolutely terrible, please upload it, okay? I'd be glad to try and give you some advice for next time. But honestly, the main advice is just try it again. I think that's from Daniel Tiger. I have a 4-year-old, so don't judge me. Okay, here we go. That's our basic line drawing of our X-Wing, okay? Not perfect, but I like it. I'd say the most non-perfect thing about this is probably the angle of the nose, but you know what? For the second time doing one of these, I'd say that's pretty good. All right, you guys are awesome. Have a great day. I'll see you in part 2.